It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, the 13th day of February, 2013. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours, and we are going to have open phones as well. Again, thank you so much for joining us here today. I am your host, Alex Jones. A lot of these video and audio clips we're going to be playing speak for themselves. 2 hours before Chris Dorner reportedly got burned up inside of that cabin after killing another sheriff's deputy in Big Bear outside Los Angeles up in the mountains. And then on top of it, well, I guess the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, on top of it, also seeing the SWAT team surround it and all the rest of this. I shot a video 2 hours before saying that I expect to see it go up in flames. We're going to play that clip coming up. People are like, how on earth did you know this? Well, the standard procedure with someone held up in a house with a firearm that's already killed police or government gods is to use an armored vehicle or tank to knock down the walls and then set the place on fire. That's what they did at Waco. And that's why Waco was so evil, because David Koresh could have been picked up in town at any time. He went into town every day. They had an auto repair shop a couple miles away. He went into town to the grocery store. He jogged outside the Branch Davidian Ranch that they called a compound to dehumanize them. And they went to have a PR stunt with the ATF to shoot the place up. The Davidians fought back. So then they had the military come in and engage in a siege and burn the place down, shoot people trying to get out, and blew up the little newborn babies and people, and then posed with their skulls later. These were not warriors. These were psychopathic demons. And you see the LAPD not even apologizing for shooting up vehicles that didn't even match the description. You see just the insanity of the government cult. And it is a government cult. These people in these corrupt police departments think they're rock stars, and the government bureaucrats above them think they're royalty. Anybody who's worked around them has seen it for themselves. And America is going the same way as any other corrupt empire. Now, that said, Dorner, I've thought from the beginning this was a real story just because it looks like a real story. It acts like one. The government's all disjointed and badly coordinated and engaged in PR disasters. When you see real staged events, the script is written minute one, and it all rolls out, and they have their targeted liberty that they're trying to take, or the power they're trying to seize. But it was not a hard prediction. We're going to play a clip of this here in a moment, that they would burn it down. First, there's a clip of San Bernardino sheriffs on the radios talking with the LAPD, who was not in charge officially, but was in charge. They brought in the SWAT teams and the armored vehicles. And they're talking about, let's just go ahead and play the clip right now. Here it is. Oh, yeah. The clip we're going to play is cops burn that house down. Bleep. But, we're not going to go to it now. We're going to have a meeting during the break, and then we're going to play it after the break. We're going to do that, okay? Because I've got a video list right here in my hand, and when we come back, we're going to go according to this list, okay? Now, I understand. So, again, we're going to come in. We're going to play the clips that are up at Infowars.com in our reports on this subject on the other side of this break. And then we're going to talk about President Obama's State of the Union saying, hey, if you don't do what I want, Congress, on carbon taxes, I'll just act. And the same thing on taking over the internet and a lot more. So we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, on this live Wednesday edition. Please stay with us. Christopher Dorner went out Waco style, and I know the establishment is not happy because there wasn't 28 children, 17 of them under the age of 10, many of them newborn babies or toddlers. This wasn't a real trophy event where they could pose with the dead children's skulls and their dead bodies to show off what tough guys they are. Like when you watch Waco, The Rules of Engagement, it shows DOD snipers and ATF and FBI snipers standing around bragging about how they're honed to kill, and just incredibly manly to have the tanks knock down the walls and shoot Davidians as they tried to get out, and then put a anti-personnel shape charge mine on top of the church records vault and kill everybody inside. In fact, the only thing more manly was the LAPD, big fans of what they did, shooting up a truck, a different make and model and brand and color. Dorner's driving a silver pickup. Well, if you see a blue pickup doing a paper route with two women, that's obviously Dorner. You know, different color, women, a woman in the back throwing papers out, open fire. Shoot them up, shoot them both. You pull a white guy over in a car, tell him go ahead and leave, and then ram him 10 seconds later and shoot his vehicle up. Good. Good. In fact, I think they ought to just have gunships fly in, AC-130s with Gatling guns, but also A-10 Warthogs, and just fly up and down the major Los Angeles and Southern California roads and just open fire like it was the highway of death outside of Kuwait going into Iraq, and just take them out. Because that would be like a sacrifice. That's why government always demands human sacrifice once it gets powerful enough, is that the public needs to be taught, you are the food. You are the food. You are here to be eaten for dinner. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. And again, I think it's wonderful what happened last night. So I was able to predict 2 hours before. I said, I think they're going to burn him down Waco style. And we're going to play a clip of that where I predicted it, uploaded it, timestamped to YouTube, timestamped to Infowars.com, because it's standard procedure to go in with a tank and ram it, and then tell the media cut the feed just like Waco, and they'll dutifully do it. And Wolf Blitzer says this is unprecedented. No, it's not. They cut the feed. I shot a video 1 minute after and uploaded it called Chris Dorner, Torched Waco Style. And we break down the fact that, in fact, that's the video I shot actually after I was confirmed right. If you actually go to Infowars.com, there's another article there, and you can go to our YouTube page, and I break it all down, and I'll give you the actual name of that video here in just a moment. Yes, it's Chris Dorner, CNN Cuts live feed. Alex Jones predicts they will burn him Waco style. That is the actual name of the video that I put out roughly 2 hours before the torching. You can see the videos I shot. Chris Dorner cornered, CNN Cuts live feed. I predict they'll torch him. Then checkpoints paralyzed Big Bear. And then after it happened, well, while it was starting to burn, Chris Dorner torched Waco style. And it was not hard to know the standard default infantry training that SWAT teams, and they are domestic military groups, it's against the law, against the Constitution, Bill of Rights, but it doesn't matter, because a military fights an enemy. And so that's why the public is now seen as the enemy by more and more of these departments and paramilitary groups. And I understand the need for special teams sometimes, but they're using them for checkpoints on the highways now. They've got military drills all over the country, and they're now admitting, oh, we are acclimating you, and we're working with the local police department with role players screaming, I'm not turning my guns in, and saying, I need food. See, they're preparing for a collapse and a war with the American people in the reorganization of the country. So I was being a little bit sarcastic there, saying, this is all wonderful. This is actually horrible. And see, I don't hate the police out of hand. They're just brainwashed Americans like everybody else. And when I see these really corrupt, out of control, fear-driven, running off the edge of a cliff from their own shadow, it really freaks me out. It freaks me out that they're shooting up cars and running checkpoints and beating people up. And I watched live feeds from helicopters as they had traffic backed up 20 miles up in the mountains by Big Bear, and they would actually aim guns at families in their cars and go through their cars when they knew Dorner was surrounded, and they pinned him in the house. It was just all a big excuse to power grab. I mean, I've seen cases now where there'll be a bank robbery and they'll shut down major highways and then just have guns aimed at people as they drive up. And again, it's this attitude of, we're going to march your kids out of the school in a drill. We're going to put our hands on you with the TSA. We're going to set up warrantless checkpoints. I mean, this is America becoming North Korea. And obviously, I am pretty freaked out right now by the fact that they did another Waco-style event. And they didn't know if he had hostages in there. I mean, if they would have had 17 little children under the age of 10, would they have barbecued them? And then said that Dorner said it? Now, here's the deal. This just shows the lying culture now out in the open, out in everyone's face. We're going to play some of the clips, the news clip and the scanner clip here in a moment, and then get into Obama's State of the Union. But imagine how obvious it is when they say, they're asking the media to cut the live feeds as they're surrounding it and have armored wheeled tanks pulling up, about to do an infantry maneuver, standard military maneuver, knock down the walls when you've got infantry inside and they don't have anti-tank weapons, and then firebomb it. I mean, it's 101, or bring a helicopter in like Randy Weaver with a big bucket of gasoline that they can remote control and drop on top of the house. But media didn't follow orders and caught it on video, so they backed off because media was going into the woods and covering it. Because it's like a big turkey shoot. Hey, we got women and kids in here. Let's shoot mama with a baby in her arms. Let's shoot a little kid in the back. And because to these guys, because these aren't real men. These aren't soldiers. These are people that it's like hunting. These are arrested development wimps. I've studied their MO, these types. Who just enjoy killing people, but from a distance in a controlled way, like Lon Horiuchi, the sniper, where they feel powerful. And you see the culture of the drones and all of this, and it totally dehumanizes everyone. And on the other side of it, you've got the public running around saying, kill the cops, kill more, great job, Dorner, Team Dorner, and all this garbage. Somebody ought to make an image of Obama in a jersey that has a 0 on it and says Team Dorner. Because he's anti-gun, anti-the citizens owning guns, pro-government, a total statist who was mad that he was thrown out of the cult and was going to show the cult to the feds, hey, I'm going to give you trouble in a PR disaster. I'm going to throw a big giant temper tantrum. I'm going to go shoot a police captain's daughter. And people are defending that. So the police are turning into demons. The public's turning into demons. America accepts torture, abortion, secret arrest, warrantless wiretapping, injustice. And now all the prosperity is going out the window. All the liberty is going out the window. Now, our story, we broke this yesterday as it was happening, that clearly they cut the power. They knew that place. They talked to the owner. They knew that house did not, that cabin did not have cable in it. They knew they could cut the power with the power lines, and it turns out they had cut the power. Okay? They simply wanted to burn that thing down. Same thing in Waco. They told the media, okay, you've been a mile away, get back 3 miles. So they had to have telephoto lenses, a German film crew, to even catch the compound burning. That would have never even been seen until later. Okay? The big wooden church with a concrete building inside. But instead, the FLIR footage got leaked by patriots in the government who didn't like what was happening. They later killed the former CIA director over the leak. He later died in his, quote, kayak, remember that? But I had the inside sources on where the FLIR came from. Then it was later confirmed to be the real FLIR. And it's infantry behind the armored vehicles, going into the building behind it, shooting the people, setting the fires, everything. And it later came out in Congress, Delta Force said, quote, we were ordered to go in and pull triggers. So now we have the new clips from the news with San Bernardino on the open scanners saying, burn that mother effer down, burn it down. We're going to play that clip in a moment. And then we have the actual scanner of the tank inside planting the firebombs. Planting the firebombs. And they say, okay, we planted them, we planted the burners, now the fire's lit. Okay, good job. They're so arrogant now, they cut the feed, burn it down in front of you, and then tell you they didn't burn it down, and you watch, they're going to say Dorner burned it down. Dorner burned it down. I mean, how many times do SWAT teams shoot their own officers and then frame the person's house they've come in? It's a culture of they come first, they're a gang, and you're nobody. Now, not all departments have succumbed to this, but the big cities mainly have, and it's despicable. And we know the threat to the public in North Korea is the police. We know the threat to the public in Mexico is the police. Do we want our police to become like that? Because they are by every historical and sociological benchmark. Let's go to a clip from KCAL. Boy, and they glazed over this. The media is now acting like nothing happened. That's a whole other story. Only DrudgeReport.com is carrying our stories and getting it out there, and it's on talk radio everywhere, and the story's getting out. Because of Infowars.com, because of DrudgeReport.com. Let's go to break with KCAL. Here it is.
We hear back from our Carter Evans. It sounds like police officials were trying to move Carter out of the area into a safer area. We do know that authorities were searching for a man in a Dodge pickup truck.
All right, that's enough. Go to DrudgeReport.com. Up on the left-hand side, there's all the links. They're also at Infowars.com. Obviously, it's an Infowars story. Now, we have the even more powerful scanner of inside the tank to the command post down the hill as they plant the firebombs. Now, here's the deal. You're going to be called a conspiracy theorist, even though they admit this is their real transmissions. You got cops running around foaming at the mouth. All right, if you just joined us, I'm going to be breaking down Obama's incredibly chilling State of the Union and what's really happening with the economy. When he said, hey, if Congress doesn't act on carbon taxes, which will totally shut us down, which they're doing on purpose, he said, I'll do it on my own. So Congress has got to start the impeachment process right now. The problem is most of the leadership's bought and paid for. This country is in deep, deep trouble. That's coming up in the next segment. We're going to open the phones up for your take on the Waco-style barbecuing of Dorner. Of course, they say they've found his body in the building. But people are saying, Alex, how did you call this that, they've cut the feed and it's probably so they can burn him out Waco-style? It's like, how did I predict the sun would come up this morning? See, that's what's so frustrating. When you're awake, you can call stuff about 90% of the time. No exaggeration. In fact, more than that. I just don't want to sound arrogant. It's not arrogance. This is there's the real world, and then there's what we're taught all day. And there is almost no mainstream media. There's a few LA articles going, did the SWAT team said it? What does this audio mean? It's kind of like when the UN officials a few weeks ago, the UN-funded, controlled, mandated communist Chinese put the baby behind the car, the 13-month-old baby that the parents had hid, their second child, and they run over it with a car. And then the ABC News headline was, baby run over in China by car with population control officials in it. Like, not population control tyrants run over baby. It's like, well, a car ran over a baby and happened to have some population control officials in it. This is how they spin everything. So now we have the matrix being more and more obvious here of propaganda, where they cut the feeds on the helicopters. I've got reports where they, quote, ordered the local news, but some of the local news didn't follow orders. You see, oh, we better get rid of that First Amendment, and still carried the audio. And the local news, and I've got the reports right here, said, hey, it's audio of the scanners. How do we know he doesn't have a scanner? No, we're going to run this. And see, they've scrambled most of the scanners. In the last few years, it's gone to this federal system, and they've unified the codes. But still, there's a lot of cops out there who are kind of having a big pity party, hysteria party, who are so uncontrolled, they're shooting up cars the wrong color. Can you imagine? Oh, there's a white guy in a silver car. Let's shoot that up. There's some women throwing newspapers out of a blue truck. Looks nothing like Dorner's truck that's silver. Let's just shoot them up. I mean, that's Yosemite Sam level. Just running around. And this is the government that's got the helicopters, the checkpoints, the guns, the weapons, the surveillance. It's why the founders said, keep that government small, keep it under control, because government's like fire. It is a dangerous servant and a fearful master, and that's the terrorist, of course, George Washington, that FEMA demonizes all day. And I know police, I've heard them all over talk radio and in the news, all over the country. They're marveling at how unprofessional the LAPD is. But it's beyond that. It's a bunch of crazy people. I'm not saying they're all crazy, but, I mean, just bad leadership, unaccountable, and then they talk on the scanners, okay, you've broken through, put the burners down and burn them up like we planned. Okay, the burners are ignited, the house is on fire. I mean, open and shut. And you've got the cops outside running around screaming in front of news, burn him, kill him, blah, just like totally turned over to rage. Because it's a cult. It's like crying for Kim Jong-il when he died, all the fake days of crying. The more they show off and cry for the dead officer they just killed, he just reportedly shot. And I get it, you know, guy died. It's what you signed on for. I'm sad you're dead. You get a great pension for your family. You know, you have a nice parade. You signed on to be a tough guy, okay? Okay, you signed on to do this. Quite frankly, sounds pretty exciting to me. I mean, you signed on for all this, and people are going to die. I mean, that's what you signed on for. And I'm sad the cop's dead, but what about the citizens that are getting shot up? And so the police are freaking out, screaming, burn that mother effer. You know, we played the clip earlier. We'll play it again. But when we come back from break, I'm going to play the raw scanner, which they admit's theirs, and I don't know how they're going to spin this. This is from KCAL, from the big LA station down the hill. This is all police scanner audio directly off the news channels. And it's the armored tank, the wheeled tank, knocking down three of the walls. One wall's left standing. They hear a gunshot. He probably killed himself, Dorner. And then they set the place on fire and burn the place up. And people need to understand, this is the default position. Okay, they do this all the time. There have been many cases of them burning out patriots and people. I mean, if they know you're a veteran or they know you know how to use a gun, they're not going to go in to capture you and take you to trial. And some could argue, well, he's already killed a bunch of people, you know, burn him out. The point is, don't cut the feed, burn it out, and say you didn't do it, okay? Stop treating us like we're stupid. Stop being filled with hypocrisy. We'll be back. Stay with us. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are here live. I want to give the number out specifically on the State of the Union, A and B. I want to give the number out on the Christopher Dorner funeral pyre going out like the children did at Waco. Because, again, I'm not crying tears over this guy getting killed because all the MO looks like this was a real story, a real event from the paramilitary police force that we've created in this country. It's going to bite itself in the butt. Militaries have always killed each other. There's always been friendly fire. There's always been fragging. This stuff goes on. Especially as a lot of people get into these positions to go out and be able to kill people. You know, I mean, they're getting into it to go out and kill people, where they can legally and lawfully kill people as psychopaths. And I'd say 20% of cops are that type of person now. And they've absolutely got to be removed. But instead, they're being put in positions of power. But I want to get your take on Obama's State of the Union that I haven't gotten to yet. I'll play some clips in a moment. And I want to get your take on what you saw yesterday. But we've got a couple clips we're going to play now. Let's just get to the KCAL clip we've already played. Then I'll get to the other clips I haven't played yet. This is a 51-second clip on the local TV station where they've got feeds from the ground with police running around screaming, burn that house down, bleep, burn that mother bleep down. And then we have the audio inside the tank back to the command post on the scanner on an open radio channel. That's how dumb they think you are. They're going to do something illegal. They're going to purposely burn this guy up so they don't have to get killed, taking him, you know, going in and taking him out or trying to get him to surrender. They just want to get this over with. Okay, and clearly he was never going to surrender, so I can see the psychology of that. But still, the media is compliantly turning off the feed so he couldn't see what really happened as the tank knocked down the walls. And conveniently now they're saying, oh, never mind what you heard, just go to sleep. And it's the same on every other big issue. Where I see on the news, we're going to blow up Building 7 for the other building's safety. Saw it on the news, heard it on the radio, have the clips, cops saying, get back, we're blowing it up. And I go, hey, they said they blew that up. Oh, shut up, you think the government did it. What do you work for bin Laden? I'm like, no, criminal elements run al-Qaeda, and they're going to use al-Qaeda to attack us to take our liberty. Why'd they blow up Building 7? This needs to be investigated. It didn't exist. I'm like, well, I have the video clips. Never mind those children. Never mind. And it's the same thing now. Never mind. Never mind that you saw them cut the feed, and then you have multiple audio clips of the police saying, we're going to burn him up. And I'm going to get to those right now. Just forget you ever saw that. And forget that DynCorp's been caught running kidnapped children on record, and the UN has over and over again. And, you know, forget the government's been caught shipping narcotics in over and over again. And forget the NSA's warrantlessly wiretapping you. And forget that they're setting up warrantless checkpoints now, searching your vehicles. And forget the fact they're introducing legislation to physically confiscate your guns in multiple states and at the federal level. Just forget it. Forget the fact they're shutting down our power plants and raising our taxes to bankrupt us, to bring us into government receivership. Forget all that. Forget Agenda 21. Everything's fine. The government loves us. They never lie to us. It is this attitude that allows them to cut a feed, torch a building, say they're going to torch it, and then there's no discussion about you just illegally killed somebody. And we're all supposed to just play along with the lie. Now let's go to that clip we've already played and then to the new clips. KCAL, here it is.
We hear back from our Carter Evans. It sounds like police officials were trying to move Carter out of the area into a safer area. We do know that authorities were searching for a man in a Dodge pickup truck.
Okay, so that's when the gunfight was going on, and you see fire, you see smoke, not just from firearms. That went out live, and that was taped live off television, and the media is trying to cover that up. They were clearly trying to set the place on fire then. Okay, and then they wanted to be the heroes and set it on fire and burn him out, but they got driven back. A couple of them got shot. And remember, he's down the hill earlier with the kidnapped couple, and he'd been there for days. How did they know there weren't people inside the building? Now, let's go to the next clip. This is from the armored vehicle, the wheeled tank, that's rammed down 3 of the walls. It's about to ram down the 4th wall. And they are going to then, quote, place the burners. Wonder what that means. And then, in case they can spin that, oh, well, we don't mean we pull Building 7, or we don't mean, you know, burners mean burners. They go, okay, burners ignited. Okay, the fire is set. Sounds like pretty clear English to me, like the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. All right, I'm placing the burners. All right, the burners are ignited. Okay, the fire is going. I mean, it's like, hey, honey, will you set a fire on the barbecue pit so I can cook some stuff? Yeah, honey, I'm putting the coals in right now. Okay, I've ignited it. The fire is lit. So let's go ahead and go to that clip right now. Here it is.
All right, Steve, we're gonna go forward with the plan with the burner. Copy. Want it like we talked about. 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
Copy, 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
You guys be ready on the number 4 side. We have fire in the front. It might come out the back. Woman on the 4 side, remember your backdrops.
62-10-1.
Contact fire to staging up on the 38 and Glass Road. Can you have them bring an engine down here? That's firm. Room on the number 4 side, fully involved. Brake control 2 and 4 side are fully engulfed. Fire moving to 3 now.
Copy, number 2 and 4 fully engulfed.
Like it's starting to collapse. Now, firm, give me some time here. We're not quite there. I still have the 2-3 corner that is vulnerable. Careful, we're just bringing fire in about 200 yards out. Your call. Copy. Bring 61 Lincoln, 61 Charlie. You ready for fire? 61 Charlie, 61 Lincoln. Negative. I still don't have adequate penetration on the 2-3 or the 3-4. And I still have live ammo popping. Lincoln, I copy. 3-4 is full engulfed. Pulse going off.
Copy, more ammo going off.
Sure. Loop. Go. Hey, John, do these cabins have build-up areas? That's something to consider. Affirmative. I'm told that there's a basement in this cabin.
All right, they wanted to get to that basement and burn him out. That was the main goal. That was the main push that they were going for. Now, we've got the police running around saying, burn it, burn up the house, clearly trying to burn it up during the first firefight, launching something at it, whether it was the flammable type of tear gas rounds that are somewhat good at starting fires. If you listen later, we don't know what happened. I mean, it almost sounds like they have flamethrowers. I know a lot of the military terminology, at least when I read about World War II, was they would call flamethrowers burners. When they would go in and flamethrow people hiding in holes, they go, bring in burners. I mean, I've heard the radio transmission, seen the documentaries. They'd go, you can look this up in the terminology. They'd say, we're 500 yards out with a burner. I mean, that's military terminology. I don't know if it's changed since Korea and Vietnam and World War II, but I mean, it might have been a flamethrower for all we know. I mean, the LAPD's got everything in the world. And by the way, the San Bernardino County and Big Bear, they were, quote, in charge. The sheriff was in charge, but it was the LAPD that was choppered in with the equipment, their vehicles brought in, trucked in on 18-wheelers. They were running the show. Sure, the sheriff was in charge, but he was like, okay, you're the quarterback. Go in there. I almost want to open the phones up for police and get their take on this, but we'll do that after the first round of calls. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. And we'll get your take on the Dorner situation and the State of the Union. That's the topic. I don't screen your calls, but when I say, hey, I want to hear from you on this, that's what we're talking about. So that's what I want to hear from you on. I really want to hear what you have to say on those subjects. 800-259-9231, and we'll get you up and on the air. And we have a guest popping in on the hurricane and the aftermath of that a few months ago, and then now this new winter storm, and just how government isn't responding and is actually raising property taxes on people and stuff. We've got a guest join us for about 15 minutes at the bottom of the next hour, but that's it. The rest of the show is going to be news and open phones today. And we've got a lot of other key clips we're going to play from the whole State of the Union last night. But for me, this illustrates the absurdity of all of this. Now, you can go see it time-stamped at YouTube, time-stamped at Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. About 2 hours before they torched it as they were getting the armored vehicles off the 18-wheelers. I saw that. They said, oh, the police have asked. It's unprecedented for them to cut the feed. We've got a clip of that coming up with Wolf Blitzer. And the other channels did it. Then they started demanding that the scanners be cut. They're like, well, you can't see that. He may have a scanner. And most news did. A few didn't. That's how we had those clips you just heard. I mean, I guess they just think they're God now. They order the media to stand down so they can do whatever. So, and again, this guy, you can say he was bad if he was guilty, and a lot of evidence points that direction. But do you want to be surrounded and have your house burned down and they just say you were a child killer? Corrupt governments will frame people, and our government's been caught framing people. And major crime labs, the LAPD crime lab, the Houston crime lab, the FBI crime lab, the San Francisco crime lab, the Dallas crime lab, almost every crime lab, if you look up the name of your major city, crime lab scandal, you'll see people being framed. I mean, I was exposing police dealing drugs where I grew up in Rockwall, Texas, and they called me in the office and said, we're going to say you stole stereo equipment out of some trailer park. And I said, I'd have never stolen anything but beer out of people's golf carts. And the cop's like, look, I know that. You're going to be raped and given AIDS. And he said some other things, racist stuff. And slammed my head down in the thing and said, you're dead if you don't shut up. And then my dad got the word they were going to kill me if we didn't move. We moved to Austin, Texas because of this. I have experienced a cop sitting there going, we know you stole that stereo equipment. We're going to get you for that if you don't shut up about the other trouble you've been causing. And then you're like, I don't stole anything in years. I think I've stole beer out of people's golf carts. Stand up. Stand up right here for me. Slam my head in the thing. Listen, you little, the whole thing was spit dripping out of his mouth. So I have experienced it. And I was just like, stop pulling us over and trying to search us for drugs when we're a bunch of, crap-kicking, jock, cowboy hat-wearing beer drinkers. Stop saying we're doing drugs when you're the one selling them. Anyways, I'm already digressing. The public is so naive, ladies and gentlemen. The public is so absolutely naive. They have no idea what's really going on in this country. And that's why we're being absolutely robbed And now some people are awake, but their answer is just kill all the police. We've seen that all over the news. Like the news, like, well, I guess Dorner did have a point. Perhaps he is good. And yeah, you know, go Dorner, kill more cops. Yeah, let's just randomly kill cops. I mean, you're light years worse than these police, and it just shows a society absolutely falling apart. Absolutely falling apart. Killing the police isn't going to do anything but get a civil war going. Most police are good men and women. Most departments are revenue generating. They don't know they're designed to ruin the economy. They don't know why people hate them because they don't have the money to pay these tickets. I mean, I was talking to one of my crew. He was up there dealing with a ticket, and he saw poor families and stuff, you know, $2,000, $3,000 stuff on tickets and things now. They've jacked up in Texas. And the people will turn around and cry because that's the grocery money, folks. I mean, this country's in a depression, and they're just squeezing. And so even, quote, good cops have an evil job now because the government's evil. You have an evil mission. I don't care what propaganda you put on it. But they're not individually evil. And we want to avoid the Civil War. If, you know, they start coming for people and stuff, it's the gloves are off. And it's going to be a million times, I mean, way more than a million times Dorner. That's why the system is going to stage stuff to get the psychological war won, to blame anyone that resists as terrorist. But the system should look. The public hates you so much, they're wanting the public to kill your children. I mean, and that's why I don't want a revolution. A lot of times revolutions create something worse than what you had. I want the republic back. I want due process back. I want honorable behavior back. I want to put this monster back in the cage, okay? Believe me, I got a family. I've studied history. I'm getting chills right now. This country's on the edge of a powder keg. And the government's gearing up for checkpoints, martial law, you know, to crush the resistance once it starts. They're going to start the resistance, you idiots out there in law enforcement. Maybe you're not as naive as the public, but you still don't get the trap you're being set up for. Let's go out to break with my prediction. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but where I play the Wolf Blitzer and the rest of it. Let's go ahead and go to the clip that's up at Infowars.com. Here it is 2 hours before they torched him. The Chris Dorner fiasco appears to be coming to a head. Alex Jones with an Infowars.com news alert. We were just in here watching CNN. They claim that they've cornered him in some house. There's been some type of shootout in Big Bear, California, up in the snow-capped mountains. The issue here, though, is that now CNN especially refuses to show live footage and is just telling us what they're seeing from the helicopter. In the past, this was never done except for situations like Waco, where they ordered the news cameras back and then the place blew up in flames. He's reportedly got several hostages inside there. What the police tend to do and the military tends to do in a situation like this where they've lost some of their own, they don't care about 17 little children under the age of 10 in the Waco compound. They blew it up and burned it to the ground. And I hope that doesn't happen here. But regardless, this is why people don't believe official stories. It's because over and over again, we're going to play the clip in a moment, the establishment media is caught lying about things, spinning things, and then not letting us see what's really happening. A few weeks ago at a shooting in Houston at a community college, they cut the feed. And we're saying different things than what we were watching on local Texas television with live feeds. They kept showing the scariest footage over and over again. They also do that to control the narrative and what's put out. But here's the bottom line. We have our guns because of government people like the alleged killer Chris Dorner that go crazy. When the government has all the guns, there's tyranny. When the people have the guns, there is liberty. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. That's Thomas Jefferson. It's common sense. But let's go ahead and show you this clip. And again, they're still saying earlier.
Commissioner, it's Wolf Blitzer. We're watching what's going on here in the Situation Room as well. We are now showing our viewers videotape of the aerial area after law enforcement asked us no longer to show live pictures because that could help this suspect in this particular case potentially escape. So what our viewers now are seeing is videotape. We're no longer going to show the live pictures.
We got to go to break. And I go on to finish the clip, and Blitzer, of course, talked about this is unprecedented, well, except for Waco and places, and I say that's when they're usually going to torch something. So there's the prediction. The full video's up at Infowars.com. Your calls are straight ahead. Then the State of the Union breakdown, scariest ever. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take about 30, 40 minutes of calls. And then I'm going to properly get into Obama's State of the Union because, I'll be honest, I didn't watch it last night. I read the transcript this morning. I read the whole stinking thing, and then I went and found some of the clips, and the crew found some. And economic development zones, taking over the internet with executive orders outside of Congress, end of free speech as you know it, really. Even mainstream media says that. Chinese-style net censorship. Carbon taxes, executive orders, even if Congress, quote, won't act. We've got a clip of that in a moment. During the break, I was looking at this again. It's just making my head spin. I mean, it's all happening. I mean, they're burning up people alive and saying they didn't in front of us. Let's burn him up, okay? Oh, we didn't burn him up. I mean, it's reached cuckoo level, and I've got the economic news. They want to deep six things. They want you poor. On record, this is not an opinion. This is so diabolical, and I just want prosperity. But see, they don't want that. They don't want you to be independent, and it makes me so mad because it's so over the top. We should just be able to wake up to this. Now, I said I'd go to your phone calls, Sandy, Carl, Abby, Bobby, Jason. We're going to get to all of you. Be sure to support the broadcast, spread the word about the broadcast, get a InfoWars Nightly News membership at InfoWarsNews.com. 11 memberships for $5.95 a month. Check it out. Nobody's got news like this, and it just pays for the bandwidth of the burgeoning TV system we're setting up. Become a PrisonPlanet.tv member. Buy the ProPure water filters, 10% discount, InfoWarsShop.com. Get the Pro Second Amendment T-shirts, spread the word, defend the Second Amendment, meet like-minded people, get the books, the videos, all of it, InfoWarsShop.com or InfoWarsStore.com, or call 888-253-3139. And get the Second Amendment issue of the magazine, Why the Tyrants Want Our Guns. It's going to sell out soon if you want it in bulk, or get a subscription. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Now, we'll start the next hour and go to all your calls. I'm going to take 5 or 6 calls, and then I'm going to clear the board, and I'm going to open it up for police to call in and give us their take on what they've seen and heard. Shooting innocent people, the infantry tactic of using the armored vehicle to ram on the walls and set it on fire. Just reminds me of Waco. It makes me so angry. It's one thing to kill this guy. You can debate that all day, but, man, I tell you, those little kids and how the system lied about that, really despicable, and shows you what the system will do if ordered, the type of people they've hired. So we're going to talk about all that coming up. Now, the phone lines are full right now, but police out there, here's the number. So after you hear somebody hang up, you can get in. It's 800-259-9231. Let's play this chilling clip of Obama saying he'll do whatever he wants if Congress doesn't bring in the UN carbon tax. Here it is.
Now, the good news is we can make meaningful progress on this issue while driving strong economic growth. I urge this Congress to get together, pursue a bipartisan market-based solution to climate change, like the one John McCain and Joe Lieberman worked on together a few years ago. But if Congress won't act soon to protect future generations, I will. I will direct my cabinet to come up with executive actions we can take now and in the future to reduce pollution, prepare our communities for the consequences of climate change, and speed the transition to more sustainable sources of energy.
That means shutting down our power plants and then giving boondoggles to energy companies that don't exist. Billions of dollars to their friends. This is a mafia. I don't care if they land in Air Force One helicopters. I don't care if they're wearing fancy suits and green ribbons for Sandy Hook for what they probably did. You know, the issue is we're in trouble. And the globalists have built China up as the new command base. They have no standards or regulations on them. We have them piled on us. It's over. It'd be like playing a football field where one team is up on the mountain with a Gatling gun and you've got rocks and stones and you've got to go up and beat them when they've got a machine gun at the top of the hill. I mean, it's that slanted. But if we wake up to the scam, we can just say, wait, this is all a giant fraud. But instead, it's all about how he's going to get you jobs. What Obama's going to do is put you on welfare to run your life. We're taking your calls in this hour. We're going to recap the Dorner Waco torching and the government thinking we're so dumb. They admit on the scanners they burned him up, try to deny it. We're going to get into Obama's State of the Union. And as I said, take your phone calls and a bunch of news on the economy that's bone-chilling. But again, knowing about this and understanding it's premeditated is half the battle. Sandy in Wisconsin, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, Alex, I just got to say, I want the officers to know my son-in-law was an officer up until maybe 7 months ago because his captain came in. It was a new military guy. He saw changes coming. But we need to let these officers know, don't leave. We need the good ones in there. They're going to get scared. They don't like the changes. But the more good ones we get in there, the more they can change these things.
Well, it's not just that the military guys are sending in to command them are bad. They're getting the bad guys out of the military who are psychos who just want to kill people, and they're putting them in charge.
Yeah, I mean, the look and everything they had to do now was a complete change.
Well, it's all meant to intimidate people, and instead it's getting the public thinking it's an occupying army and wanting to, like white blood cells, to attack the invader.
And then last night, a bunch of us were watching, the president, and of course, Gerald Celente, my other hero next to you, was tweeting back and forth with some of us on Facebook and things, and all I kept thinking is, if before Hitler could have gotten his hands on anybody, if we would have had the system we have now to get information out, it probably wouldn't have happened. But I'm afraid if Obama gets the internet control, we will lose this battle very quickly.
I absolutely agree with you. Well, again, Obama's there as the puppet who's supposed to bring in the change, and then he takes all the blame so the globalists, in case they lose this round, don't get in trouble. But it's important to politically shoot down Obama's agenda as well, because that's what they're rolling this through on. But you've got to understand, it's just the latest salvo, the latest missile coming in that our Aegis system has to shoot down. We need to understand there's a command ship launching these people at us. Thank you for the call, Sandy. Abby in Pennsylvania, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. I had what do you say? I had a thing about the Dorner case with the wallet. They apparently found it close to Mexico on the side of the road, and then all of a sudden they find it in the building after it burns down. I mean, I think that's kind of coincidental that they find his wallet.
Sure, there's about maybe there's a 5% chance this could be a staged psyop. It's just that it's so bad for them, and it shows how pathetically weak they are to asymmetrical resistance. And it's such a PR disaster and shooting up innocent people's cars. Let me tell you, I mean, just all the MO of this looks like it's real.
Well, see, I was also reading online. I found a few news things online that were saying that the manifesto that he made was actually altered and changed. There's two different versions of it. And
I mean, he was putting it on Facebook and other sites. I mean, listen, I've read Fruit Loop, narcissist, tough guy stuff. This is, if he didn't write this, the person deserves a Nobel Prize in literature.
I'm not saying that he's innocent or guilty. I'm just saying I think it's kind of funny that all this contradiction stuff is coming out, and it's blatantly obvious. I mean, they're not even trying to cover it up anymore. Nobody, he did it, he's a bad guy, go kill him and stuff, and then they open up the investigation to appease him. I mean,
no, see, that was to make it look like, because they make him a bad guy, well, how can the bad guy be winning? So they just went with the political correctness because he's an Obama supporter and an anti-gun guy. The media was kind of like, well, maybe he is good then. You know, because see, once they fully take over, they're going to hang the cops out to dry and the military as well. They're already hanging the military out to dry. So God bless you, good points. Look, if the government's a bunch of congenital liars, I don't out of hand believe what they say. But I've just studied that. Look, I knew they were going to burn him out yesterday. I mean, I was even more direct with the office. I said, they will burn him up. Watch this. So, the point is that I know these people. Okay, I know how they operate. This is a PR nightmare for them. All right, my friends, we're now into hour number 2. We're going to have open phones throughout the next 2 hours. We have a guest popping in to break down some key intel. I'm also lining up guests tomorrow, radio talk show hosts who live right in the area of where Dorner was reportedly torched Waco style yesterday, who know people that were right in the very vicinity, so they're there today doing an investigation. We'll have some of those folks on, like Dr. Corey Gold tomorrow, who lives in the area, to break that down with us. We'd have him on today, but he's in the area investigating right now. So he'll be joining us tomorrow, so we don't go off half-cocked. And Joseph Farah is on tomorrow to talk about his prediction of just Obama going hog wild with carbon taxes, police state, cybersecurity. That's all tomorrow as well. I've got these clips, and we're going to cover this mainly in the next hour, because I want to go to calls right now, where Obama, said, hey, if Congress doesn't bring in carbon taxes, I'm going to do it with executive orders. And he's really trying to sell the dictator angle to try to get that out there. If I'll get the economy going, just let me be a dictator. Very, very serious. And they've got so many reasons to impeach him already, putting our troops under UN control, NATO control, trying to keep cybersecurity orders secret from Congress, saying they have no authority. This is just all fast and furious, totally impeachable. Why is it not happening? Now, I got loaded phones here. After we go to these 5 or 6 callers that are on the top of the board, I want to leave the new phone lines that are open for police, current police, who'd like to call in, or former, whatever, to give us your take on what we've seen. The LAPD shooting up innocent vehicles and people that are a white guy in a car, doesn't match the description, shoot it up. Can you imagine being a black guy in a similar truck? I mean, you don't deserve to die. Women, white women in a blue truck, different make, model, different company, shoot them up. And then the audio caught live on the news of the scanner, them saying, burn it down, burn the mother effer down. I'm going to play a clip of that in a moment. And then the actual scanner audio, they asked the news to cut, but one of them didn't. This is confirmed, where they bring in the armored vehicle, knock down the walls, and then say, okay, we got the fire. We're going to bring the fire in. Okay, set the burners. They're ignited. The place is on fire. I mean, they Waco'd it. Now, I'm glad there weren't 17 little children in there. And I'm no fan of this guy, but, I mean, the due process out the window. And now we'll never know the truth. I mean, I tend to see the manifesto, the witnesses to what he was doing, the phone calls made. I mean, it sounds like it's a real story, a real rogue. You know, sometimes things are real. They're not staged. The way it's all a PR disaster, you know, it shows you that's probably not staged. When they stage something, they've got their ducks in a row. Like Aurora, definitely staged. I mean, my goodness, the guy got DARPA funding. Department of Defense was over that guy. 5 different psychotropics, witnesses of other people. Said he was under mind control. It's been declassified. Sirhan was under mind control. I mean, you know, this stuff's all coming out. But this is very suspicious. I want to play these clips again and then go to your phone calls for people that are holding, like Ron in New York, former police officer, Robert in Florida, Bobby, Jason, many others that are patiently holding right now. The toll-free number for police to call in is 800-259-9231. Just wait to hear somebody hang up and then call in. Callers, please, I want to hear from the police. So after we take these calls, don't try to call in. Not that anyone listens to me. Police only. After I take these calls, 800-259-9231. We got to move quick here. Let's go to the local TV clip. And again, the video of this is all up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and DrudgeReport.com is carrying our, well, we broke this, so thanks to Drudge putting it out. Now it's broken everywhere and is getting past the mainstream media, ignoring it. This is all over. I tuned into 3 talk radio shows. I called into 590. And I tuned into WOAI, and I tuned into a big Dallas station. I forget which one. I forget the call letters. I'm getting old. And they were all talking about them burning it down when I tuned in, stuck in traffic for like an hour this morning. Really bad traffic. But side issue, it was all Drudge. That's why. So our report is mega viral right now out at Infowars.com via Drudge, DrudgeReport.com. Okay, let's go to this first clip from KCAL. Where we've bleeped the cuss words with the police saying, burn that mother effer down. Here it is. And then they run over to the reporter and tell him, get out of the area.
Police officers understandably upset.
And again, that was live, and a listener there in the area shot it off the video, off the TV. They don't want this stuff being seen. Now, here is the official scanner they wanted cut but didn't get cut. Here is the armored vehicle knocking down the walls and setting it on fire. Bombshell that they would do this in front of everyone, and you watch, it'll never even be an issue. You're a conspirator. I guarantee you, there'll be articles out by this afternoon, if not now, I haven't checked, saying Matt Drudge is crazy, Alex Jones is crazy. It's a conspiracy theory that they burn this down. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter, you got them, they burned it down, boom. They're going to... Again, if you said 2 + 2 = 4, they'd say you were a conspiracy theorist. If you know how to tie your shoelaces, you're a conspiracy theorist. You watch Obama shutting down power plants every week and everybody going bankrupt, our power prices going up, say that's bad for the economy, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you got common sense, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, welcome to conspiracy theory. Let's go ahead and go to the next clip. Here it is.
All right, Steve, we're gonna go forward with the plan with the burner. Copy. One, it's like we talked about. 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
Copy, 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
You guys be ready on the number 4 side. We have fire in the front. It might come out the back. Woman on the 4 side, remember your backdrops.
62-10-1.
Contact fire to staging up on the 38 and Glass Road. Can you have them bring an engine down here? That's firm. Room on the number 4 side, fully involved. Brake control 2 and 4 side are fully engulfed. Fire moving to 3 now.
All right, that's
Copy,
enough.
number 2 and 4.
The unedited audio, is a bunch of it, is up at Infowars.com right now in the article. Police audio from Dorner siege burned this mother bleeper. All right, we're going to go ahead with the plan with the burners. And we cut the spaces out of that for radio. You can go hear where the guy's going, okay, place the burners. He goes, like we talked about in private. Yes, place the burners. Do it. We ought to just air the whole thing. I mean, it's so ridiculous that they would do this and think we don't know what's going on. Okay, we'll go to Ron in New York, former police officer. If it's the Ron I know, he's been giving us great info for about 13 years. We got to move quick, Ron. What's your take on this whole situation?
With Dorner, I thought it's strange. They now said, you know, there's always weird things every time something like this happens. It never adds up, it connects right. They said that they found his driver's license near his body. Now, first off, how could a driver's license survive that inferno? Second off, why would a guy who didn't care less about murdering a number of people, like a good citizen, carry his driver's license around like he was afraid that he was, you know, going to get stopped for a speeding ticket? And even if by some chance he had his driver's license, most people tend to keep it on them in their back pocket. Yet they said they found it, according to news reports today, near his body in the inferno wreckage, which doesn't make sense.
That sounds like 9/11, where 2 passports survived the fireballs, made it to the ground, and were found that day by the FBI.
It does sound a lot like that. And plus, did you notice another thing here, an irony, that they finished Dorner off just about a half hour before the State of the Union address, like as though they didn't want it to overshadow the State of the Union.
It was like a burnt offering or something. Yeah, but I mean, here's the deal. This is a PR disaster for them. The cops shooting up innocent people and things, the kind of narcissism in the letters. I mean, my gut tells me that at least a large portion of this is real.
Blindsided because something happened, which doesn't happen that often, but one of their own, one of the insiders went rogue, a loose cannon. And, of course, that threw them off balance. How do you deal with something like that? It takes a while to adjust to it. And I think that's what happened. But, you know, Alex, getting to another thing, too, on another issue with the State of the Union, did you notice that that person, John Bonney's supposed to be pro-gun, right? Yet when Obama mentioned gun control, he stood on his feet and chapped and clapped.
Yeah, and John McCain was wearing the ribbons and everything and having little snickerdoodle times. It's a bunch of disgusting people.
You know? And also, like, there was an article in USA Today with Wayne LaPierre harping on an issue that's very similar to the issue with veterans, where out of one side of his mouth he says in the past that's no good, in the recent past. Now he's harping on that, and he's kind of intimating that that is good. You know something? We not only have enemies to the front of us that are clearly definable on the Second Amendment, but I think we better be very careful as to who we got to the back of us.
Oh, well, the NRA's always been anti-gun at its core, but good folks have tried to take it back over. But you're absolutely right. Got to jump. Good to hear from you, Ron. Let's talk to Robert, who's a retired police officer. What's your take on this situation, Robert?
Hey, I'm supposed to speak to you. No, I'm not retired. I just didn't. I just didn't want to finish out my term there. Things were just getting a little bit too political and too heated for my cup of tea. So I'm just curious. So what happened with the marshal yesterday that came in? What did he want?
Oh yeah, they wanted a source on a story with Marines saying that the reported shooter of Chris Kyle, the sniper, had not been in combat. And then I called him and said, "You never came back," and he said, "No." We were able to actually confirm that through Marines separately. So our story helped them go confirm with other Marines in the unit that indeed the guy wasn't a combat Marine. He was assigned to a mechanics detail. So they just want that so they can try to give him a lethal injection instead of him getting off on PTSD. I mean, the whole thing's very suspicious. And I wanted to interrogate the Texas Ranger, but he said, he was very polite. He goes, "No, sir, I can't talk to you now. My superiors say click." So believe me, I wish I would have gotten a chance to talk to him. Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't finished. I mean, if you want to put me back on hold.
Sure, I'll come back to you briefly on the other side, and then we'll go to others that are patiently holding, like Bobby, Jason, Carl, and many others. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. That's always a riot here at this office, I'll tell you. Folks, I have two different news articles. Alex Jones here, back live. He just joined us, saying they found his driver's license and passport at two different places, two different times. Now, I get the fact that the system almost always lies, even when the truth would serve them. I just don't see why they'd stage this when it's a PR disaster. But who knows? They burned up whoever it is in that house. It's like John Wilkes Booth got burned up in the barn, the guy that supposedly shot Lincoln. And we know he had accomplices. So, I mean, it's just they always burn them up. So, is this a conspiracy too? I don't know anymore. All I know is Obama is up there on television saying if Congress doesn't put carbon taxes in, he's going to do it. Unbelievable. Jessica in California says she has info covered, not covered in the media there. We're going to get her info in a minute. Finish up your point, Robert, the point you wanted to make about the whole Dorner situation.
Yeah, the whole situation just disgusts me. I mean, you know, like you said earlier, we live in a country where there's no more due process and no more do anything. It's just, you know, do what you want, and how the dictator can stand up in front of everybody and say, okay, I'm going to do this if you don't do this. I mean, I don't understand why he's not being impeached, being arrested. I mean, this is when I talk to people and I try to spread the word about you and what's going on, you know, as you know, they laugh and say you're a conspiracy. I tell them, you know, this is supposed to be the future. We're supposed to have jet cars by now, monorails to the moon. Yet here we are on the verge of 1776, back in the Dark Ages. And the whole thing just disgusts me of how...
And the government is shutting down our power plants that supply 52% of our power, and the economy is going into a tailspin by design, and these people think it's funny. What do you make of them torching the compound, torching the house, can't even get it right, going back to Waco, the cabin, and then telling us they didn't torch it when they're on tape, two different clips saying they're going to torch it?
Well, it's like you said, 90% of the population is stupid. They're going to say, oh, that didn't happen. What are you talking about? Even if you play the video or play the audio, they're going to say, oh, that's just a Photoshop. No matter what you do, they're going to say, oh, it's just a spliced together thing. It ain't real. And they're just so dumbed down. And it's just so...
Exactly. And it allows the criminals in government to take over and push out the good people. And then you get tyranny. God bless you. Good to hear from you. Let's go to Jessica. Says she has info not covered concerning Dorner and the car site where he burned up his car. Jessica, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I was just calling because the day before all this happened, up the street, I literally lived down the street from where it was, but up the street there was a controlled burn. The fire department has signs and stuff, but I just thought it was a weird time of year to do that, considering we have snow right now, and it was very small, and it was in the same area where his car was found the next morning. And, yeah, I just thought I would let you guys know. I just thought it was really weird.
Well, you know, I've got to really rack my brain and analyze this. Why would they stage this? Again, my gut says it's real. The evidence all points there. But then there's a lot of evidence pointing towards cover-up. And is it just that cops want to be heroes, so they plant fake passports, or they say they found his driver's license at the Mexican border, and now they found it in the cabin, and how did it survive? And it just goes on and on. It's just like there's so much lying. Who knows what the truth is?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Like, the media hasn't been reporting on any of this, and in fact, one of the houses near mine got raided the day that his truck was found up here, and they said that the door was left open, and it's in a pretty busy neighborhood. There's been traffic up and down all day because of the resort and whatnot. And I don't know. It's just they raided the house and nothing was found. They walked away laughing, and he was hiding in the house directly across the street, 100 yards away from them the whole time.
Wow. What do people out in Southern California think of the police shooting up 2 vehicles that didn't even match the description?
I feel like that's been kind of brushed under the table. I feel like the news makes it not seem as big of a deal as...
But, I mean, how do you hire people so trigger-happy, so crazy? I mean, I've heard of people that you take deer hunting their first time and they get buck fever and they see a cow 300 yards away in somebody else's property and they shoot cows. You see it in the news all the time. And it's like, well, you didn't know that was a cow in the middle of a field? Well, it looked like a deer. I thought I... And the truth is, they're just crazy people. And you've got weirdos that want to be tough guy heroes who go and become police now, and they have no business I mean, it is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, I've had cops pull me over, and they start asking me questions about PCP and guns and this, and I'm just like, leave me alone, man. You know what? I mean, come on. You know you just pulled me over. I don't have any record. Stop acting like you're, how about I go search your car? Because statistically, you're more criminal than anybody else. Okay? I mean, it's true. Look at criminology. There are more criminals in government and in law enforcement than any other area. Because smart criminals want the badge and the gun to be able to protect themselves. Government's who you've got to control. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here, back live. We're going to have a special guest pop in for the next 25 minutes or so to look at how this country's on the edge of civil war and just evidences that the government can't and won't protect you. Why is the system gearing up for martial law? It's in mainstream news today. Why are they doing urban warfare drills? Why are they running checkpoints? Why is the military working with local police? What are they getting ready for? Well, look at Europe. This is a designed implosion. But if the globalists don't think that you're going to go along with this, they'll back off on the implosion. But right now, they're going ahead with it. And Obama, and I'm going to play this clip coming up, is saying, I got a bunch of clips in the third hour coming up, he's saying, hey, if Congress doesn't act on the carbon taxes, which will destroy us, selectively enforced on the U.S. and Europe, all the jobs that are left will leave. If we don't do that, if we don't go along with that, he'll just do it by executive power. I mean, there's a name for that. It's called dictatorship. And even if Obama leaves office later, the office of the president is becoming a dictatorial body. So that's coming up. Don't forget, if you believe in this radio broadcast, what we're doing, spread the word. If you're listening on local AM and FM stations, tell 10 people a day to tune in. Tell them when you're in the 7-Eleven. Tell your employees, tell your boss, tell your church, print it up on cards, when the show's on, the affiliate, their website. That's how we're going to win this fight. People are more ready to wake up now than they've ever been. You can go to Infowars.com/newsletter and get key videos, exclusive videos sent to you. The free monthly digital Infowars magazine with graphics and so much more. You can also subscribe and buy it if you want a physical hard copy at InfoWarsStore.com. But stay in touch with us. Pass these emails on to others. We're going to send out the February issue one more time. We've sent it out twice. We're going to send it out one more time today at Infowars.com/newsletter. It's free. Go sign up there. Buy the books, the videos, the T-shirts. Support our sponsors. Support your local AM and FM sponsors. Tell XM, hey, thanks for carrying the show live. Pick up the Sunday show. Get us out to more people. It is so important. People thought I was crazy 15, 16 years ago. They thought I was, kind of nuts 5 years ago. Now people are going, whoa, everything you're talking about is coming true. I know. It's all in government white papers. They've already done it in other countries. Prepare for the worst, ladies and gentlemen, but hope for the best. And, of course, the famous saying is hope for the best, prepare for the worst. This is happening because we haven't been distrustful. We haven't been paranoid. We've been overrun. The founders said, if you fight as hard as you can, you'll probably lose liberty. The founders said you can try to protect the jewel of liberty with everything you've got, and you might not be able to keep it. In fact, you probably can't. Thomas Jefferson said that. George Washington said that in similar words. Look it up. But they said if you don't fight for it, you're going to get a tyranny out of control. And they said to Thomas Jefferson in a letter, who was he writing to? John Adams? It was John Adams. And he said, well, what will the level be that man puts up with? He was marveling. And he said, it'll be the level you put up with. Whatever you accept, that's what you'll live under. Don't you get it, folks? When you bend over, wolves are coming. I mean, if you went out in the middle of the frozen tundra of northern Canada and played varmint tapes of dying baby rabbits, big wolves would come and they would kill you and eat you. But if you stood up and had a spear, they'd run in fear. Government is being totally filled with criminals right now worldwide. We got cancer. We got to cut it out. Okay, people go, oh, don't be so negative. It's not negative. We got to do something about this right now. Now, I want to play this clip, and we're going to our guest. This is a new clip backing up the earlier clip that was on the local San Bernardino TV station where they say, get the fire, we're going to burn it down, burn him down. Then we have the SWAT team actually with the tank saying, get ready to burn it down. This is a third clip, CBS News, another clip where they're running around in front of reporters who they hadn't run off yet. This isn't even on scanners, who've got those shotgun mics that go out 100 yards with the cops going, get the gas, get the gas. And that's why there was fires earlier. They tried to burn it down earlier. Then they got a tank up there to do it. Got to say, they actually had some courage that they're trying to kill the guy to go get the gasoline up there themselves. Here is the CBS clip. I mean, it's open and shut. They burned this thing down. This is 3 clips now. Here it is.
Shoot the gas! Get the gas! Burn the gas! Burn the gas!
All right, again, we apologize for the expletives. This is live coverage, a gun battle, we believe, with Christopher Dorner going on right now in Big Bear.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the media last night and this morning was calling it a conspiracy theory to say that they burned it down. Now CNN is asking, what does the audio mean? So we forced the dinosaur media again to cover something. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to get him on last week, but he was too busy to join us. We're thankful that he's here with us today. He does happen to be a sponsor, but that's not why he's on the air with us. Steve Shenk of the J. Michael Stevens Group, efoodsdirect.com. I saw articles where they're not letting people rebuild. They're raising property taxes from Hurricane Sandy. And now with the Nemo storm, people are still without power, and government is trying to harass them and using it as a power grab, and how it ties into the Greek food brawl that we're now seeing with hundreds and hundreds trying to battle to get radishes and things that fell off a truck, shades of Argentina. And why is the government gearing up for that here? I have some articles breaking down all of that today. And I wanted to get Steve Shenk on to the end of the hour. Then I promise we're going right to Mike, Bobby, Jason, Carl, and others. And I want to hear from police on their take of what's happened. But first, before we talk about geopolitically what's going on with Steve Shenk as a philosopher, educator, noted food expert, and 30-plus year, the father of modern storable foods. Everybody else claims they're him. He's the real deal. Everybody says that about their sponsor. Go check it out. They are the real deal. efoodsdirect.com/Alex to find their free food deal where you can get some samples and things and a food planning kit for free. Steve's book, It's Not Your Fault, delves into his philosophies of life, and it goes on. And Steve Shenk joins us here today. Steve, what is your take on Chris Dorner and the police shooting up innocent people's cars that didn't even match it, and just government going crazy, but the public going crazy too? I mean, it's like half the people on YouTube, and I'm getting threats over this, going, hey, kill the pigs family, kill Alex, he doesn't want to kill the pigs. I mean, the cops are turning into demons, the people are turning into demons. This is like Sodom and Gomorrah. What's going on here?
Well, very simply, we've talked about it for years together, Alex. And the fact is that when people function from a position of fear, you cannot predict their behavior. You have mob psychology, which very simply is not sane. What has to happen? Now, you talk all the time about people listening, people getting the information, people getting familiar with what's going on. And there's one step further that they have to take, but unfortunately, you and I can't get them to do it on our own. We can't fix anybody. Here's the law. For evil men to win, all it takes is for good men to do nothing. Having said that, it doesn't do any good to have all of this information that you and I have been disseminating for years and do nothing about it. But if every individual, you know, one of the most heart-rending messages that I've ever gotten was after you and I were on a show together. And that was when a little gal emailed us and said, you know what? When you talked about looking in the mirror every morning and say, if it is to be, it's up to me. And if every individual, every American took responsibility for becoming independent, then the country would take care of itself. If our people are not dependent, if they have enough food, even if they don't have some place to stay, they can't be in a situation where they have to be dependent like the Greeks. Those people would not be rioting if every one of them had a year's supply of food for their family in their homes. They could stay in their homes, and the only ones that would be rioting out there are the ones that are dependent and have to go and say, please, somebody else take care of me. The victims are the only ones that are out there having problems. You know, one of the principles that you and I have talked about several times is if you're prepared, you can turn a disaster into an adventure. Now, I'm not saying that this thing with Dormer out there is a potential adventure, but the mob psychology, the fear and the anxiety and the running hither and yon, just decided to do something, shows lack of planning, lack of preparedness. There are going to be nuts out there, whether it's a cop killer like this or some idiot that walks into a theater and starts shooting people. Some of the folks are getting the message that the best protection from crime and other oppressive type of things that we need to be fearful about is for each individual to be prepared to protect themselves. You can't depend on the police to protect you.
Well, Steve, when you came to town a few months ago, incredibly popular newscast we did, one of the most downloaded and viewed on prisonplanet.tv and on our YouTube channel later, you just pointed out they want to make us dependent. And people are finally getting 25 million on food stamps, 50 million on food stamps, shutting down the power plants, raising the taxes, economy imploding. They want us domesticated. You told the biblical story of economics and how all this works, and people are now getting it, where they're throwing the book at people that have lost their houses from Sandy. The government has finally gone over the edge and become a bunch of paranoid and lunatics. It's not like that in every area of the country, and Obama is now saying if Congress won't shut down all the power plants, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring in a carbon tax. It's openly testing to see if he can become a dictator. I mean, now is the time to get prepared, and we're just being proven right on this. The last thing they want is for us to be prepared, so we better get prepared. I mean, we get made fun of for being prepared, but look at the government. They're digging in like it's the end of the world.
Well, here's the law, Alex. You know it, I know it, and everyone out there that thinks about it has to know this. The extent to which you as an individual are dependent is the extent to which you have become a victim of your own choice and given power over yourself to that on which you depend. If you look in your cupboard or wherever you store your food and you don't see enough food to feed your family for 6 months, a year, however long you think it's going to take for us to recover from a total shutdown, which is being threatened, if you look at that, you can't blame anybody but yourself if you end up like the Greeks out there having to riot to be fed. If you're spending your time rioting just to get food or out there begging or standing in bread lines, how effective can you be to be one of the good men who can do something? If you
exactly, and the IMF World Bank 112-point plan that got leaked in 2002 that we covered in our big article yesterday, how the globalists want riots and civil war worldwide, not just here. They say we shut things down, then people riot, Then that destroys confidence. We use that to buy everything up. Then they riot again. They want a shutdown society. That's what UN Agenda 21 is. That's why we've got to buy local. We've got to have gardens. We've got to have sortable foods. We've got to have guns. We've got to have our neighbors awake. We've got to control our counties and our cities. This is the battle. This is it. And we need all the bureaucrats to realize you're on our team whether you like it or not. You're not part of the New World Order.
You see, what has to happen is if each individual or each family decides, okay, I am going to take care of me, there is nothing you can do to control what is said on the State of the Union address. You can do nothing as individuals to go out and try and change. My daddy used to say an interesting thing. He says, it's more difficult to change one stubborn man's mind than to change the Congress of the United States. Well, let's take that further. If our people stop being stubborn and stop choosing to be dependent and say, hey, feed me, feed the pigs, feed the pigs. Remember the story about the wild hogs and how you can capture them. The fact is that if we stubbornly refuse to be dependent, as opposed to stubbornly
look at all the
refuse to be
Hollywood movies the
independent.
last 70 years making fun of the old-timers that wouldn't take anything off anybody. They're the people that built this country. They weren't stupid. They weren't backwards. They weren't naive.
That's right. And the fact is that if you look in your cupboards and you don't have food there, and if something shuts down, if these power plants go down and the grid gets messed up or whatever happens, and we know that something probably will happen.
They've got troops doing drills in every city with the police. I have the articles with links to video with people holding signs up saying, I need food. And they're Americans. Right. I mean, what are they getting ready for?
I don't know, but I guess maybe we can kind of guess. The fact is that if each individual, let's take a country that has everyone independent. Everyone can feed themselves for a year. Everyone has guns if they feel like they need them.
You mean the old freer America?
The old freer America, where every individual takes care of themselves. What is the opportunity? What is the chance of anybody coming in and politically taking over? Unless you can get a bunch of people to vote for you to take care of them that choose to be dependent on you, then you have total control. The extent to which we're dependent is the extent to which we give power over ourselves to that on which we depend. You see, in any of these situations where we had shootings, out here in Utah, one of the organizations provided a free class to teachers for concealed weapon permits. They had 400 teachers come in and get their permits to carry concealed.
These ghouls go to the schools because they know it's where they won't be resisted.
It's a gun-free zone. It's a free kill zone. Every place that disallows the citizens to do what Jefferson suggested that we do. Remember what he said?
The great object is that every man be armed.
Absolutely. And why is that? When you have the government fearing the people, you have liberty. When you have the people fearing the government, you have tyranny.
And Jefferson also said wherever firearms are, they restrain evil.
There you go. But you see, everybody, you know, even the conversations, I watched Jay Leno a few nights ago where he had a guest on there. I just watched it very briefly, and it was when some of the testimony was given before.
Stay there. I want to hear this about Jay Leno. Steve Shenk, always informative. I got him on about food prices going up. We'll get some brief news on that, too. All right, I'm going to keep Steve with us in that little segment, 5 minutes of the next hour. Then I'm going directly to your calls, everybody that's patiently holding right now. Going to be a jam-packed third hour. Can you believe they burned that thing down in front of everybody and have been caught on all these different tapes and scanners saying it? And it is just amazing how undisciplined, even if they were going to burn that guy up because they were scared to go in and try to take him out or arrest him, you know, that's a whole other can of worms right there. You know, in the old days, if somebody was so dangerous and already killed a bunch of people, it's just not dead or alive, dead. Just kill them. But then the government's so corrupt, it's not like it's some outlaw who's been known and seen at 10 saloons killing people. And everybody knows, Red Bart or whatever. It's just we're told this is the guy, and that's the official story. And I've got articles coming up where all over the news they keep saying they found his passport and driver's license here and there. It's all pretty weird. But it's a big PR problem for the establishment and Obama, so I don't see him staging it. I mean, why would you stage something that didn't help you? Going back to Steve Shenk, he's not here to plug stuff, but I thought I'd plug efoodsdirect.com/Alex. You can find their CD, audio breakdown at efoodsdirect.com/Alex. You can get a free 6 meals to test it out and see how you like it, just a sampling. And then it's got the meal planning kit in there to get you to think about it. Very professionally done. And that's available at efoodsdirect.com/Alex and some other discounts, or 800-409-5633. And not only is it where I get my storable food, but it's also just a great company and a great sponsor. So it's a win-win-win-win-win. 800-409-5633 or efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Steve, we were getting into a bunch of issues. Europe was in less debt per capita than we are, and they've got riots all over. 2 years into this, people homeless, more and more homeless here. I mean, it really is smart for people to get storable foods, and I guess that's the final equation. Food is key, so is water, so are firearms. You'll never stand in a bread line if you have your own bread, but other little tidbits and points you'd like to add about what we're seeing unfold.
Well, just very, very quickly.
Finishing your story, yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about this testimony before the Senate subcommittees and talking about how people need to protect their homes and all that. The message that people are afraid to announce is the reason for the Second Amendment is not hunting, not for us to protect ourselves from other Americans. Very simply, we had come from countries as immigrants that established this country where the government always overpowered the population with armament. And they determined that for this people to stay free, they had to maintain enough power in the hands of the people so that the government couldn't overpower them with armament. That's why the Second Amendment is there. Nobody wants to say it. They want to sugarcoat it by saying, well, we need this for hunting. Well, you don't need more than 5 rounds for hunting. And why do we need these assault rifles?
And exactly what the founders said, a tyrannical government arming to the teeth while saying, turn your guns in. We just want to be friends.
There you go. Enough of that. We got to talk about an interesting thing. The people, at this point, what we're trying to do, Alex, is tell everybody very simply, like you've been telling them for years, if you are not independent, if you don't have your own bread, you will end up standing in a bread line. You do not want to be exposed to that. What we're doing, you announced some contact information for us. What we've done is we've put together a bunch of packages where people literally can supply themselves, and there's enough free stuff that goes along with it so they can supply their friends and relatives and that type of thing.
Well, let's talk about that. Back in 60 seconds. Back in 60 seconds, and then the whole next hour of your phone calls. All right, just 5 minutes left with Steve Shenk of efoodsdirect.com/Alex to get that food planner and free 6 meals to test out their great products. A great sponsor, but it's about getting you prepared as well. It's a win-win. Finishing up, and then we're going to come back with phone calls at 800-259-9231. I know Bobby, Mike, and others have been holding a while. We'll go right to your calls when we start the next segment. Chef Max says he was visited by the FBI and DHS that I was brought up. We'll see what happened with that. 800-259-9231. Your call straight ahead. But Steve, what was the point about some of the new offers you've got at efoodsdirect.com/Alex?
It's just simply the fact that the one thing that people must realize is if each family, each individual takes care of themselves, then the country will take care of itself. If you are independent and never have to go and riot and go and beg and become a victim, then there isn't much that can happen. And so what we've done is we've put together some packages where people get, oddly enough, almost as much stuff free for their shipments. But the main thing that I got to say, I don't want to make this into an infomercial, Alex. You know that. The fact is, if good men don't act, and the way you act is you can't go out and change what's happening out there, but you can control what you do. The way you act is become independent so you can live to influence, to help, to support, to work another day.
If we stop shopping with globalists, if we start shopping locally, if we wake people up, if we get prepared, that will wreck the New World Order. It's that simple. Now, tell me about the new Patriot Pack that you've got at efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
Well, this very simply is just a wonderful piece of equipment that has the stove and everything in it, and also 72 servings of food. But that comes free with every $400 worth of food. Oddly enough, if an individual orders in a 1-year supply of the best food on the planet, they get up to 20 of these things that go along with it that they can share with their family, or they can use for themselves, that are just great grab and go with 72 servings in it.
And I'm actually on the site. It's 76 and the free stove and some other stuff. These are great boogie packs. Infowars.com has links over to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. And again, when you go there, that's where all the specials are. Or give them a call, 800-409-5633, 800-409-5633. We're seeing massive increases in inflation all over the world. I've got a stack of that in my news today. You've been predicting this for about 4 or 5 years. We've seen food prices go up 50% on average. What's happening now?
The only hope that people have is to do 2 things. First of all, by getting their food supply in, they freeze the price at today's prices so it won't go up to the point where it will price them out of the market. Right now, 20,000 families or individuals a day are dropping below the poverty level. That means they don't have enough to buy their own food, let alone extra. The other thing is, by freezing the cost and acquiring the food, you also freeze the availability. Why do you think that this food is going up so much? We're in the last year, a 7-year famine worldwide. Food prices, food is short. We had a terrible crop this last year. We're going to have another terrible one this coming year. What's happening is those food prices are going to price themselves out of the market, but the availability for even people that have plenty of cash set aside or gold set aside, literally at some point in time out here in Utah, they talk about at some point in time you won't be able to buy a loaf of bread with a bushel of gold. We're getting there. It just, you have to see
bottom
the
line,
handwriting on the wall.
I hope things turn around politically and people can, get Congress to try to impeach. There are things we can do, but number one is get prepared. 800-409-5633 or efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Thank you, Steve Shenk.
Thank you.
There goes Steve. By the way, I'm on Infowars.com in police audio from Donner Siege. Burn this mother down. There are people in there going, hey, the burners are talking about tear gas. They didn't burn him out. They're on tape saying burn the house down over and over again. Now 2 separate feeds. You people will never wake up. All right, I haven't even gotten into the State of the Union yet, where Obama says if Congress doesn't do what I want, I'll just do it with executive power on carbon taxes, you name it. That's all coming up. There's now 4 clips, actually, different clips of official scanners and news with police saying we're going to burn that house down, get the gas. And people are spinning it on CNN going, they meant tear gas. Just like Waco, right, where they set the fires and said tear gas did it. I mean, I predicted they'd burn it down. I mean, just don't be so naive. It's a religion of being naive. I'm going to get into that, everything. Now, let's go through your calls quickly here. I want to get to everybody, at least 5 or 6 of these callers that are on hold in this segment. Bobby and Michael and Mike and Carl and Chef Max. I want to hear what he has to say. I can't wait to hear this. But right now, let's go to Bobby in California. You want to talk about the State of the Union. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, Obama openly... Oh, what did you say right now?
You're on the air, sir. What's your take on that?
Okay. Obama openly announced that he bypassed Congress and signed the executive order that enforces Homeland Security's role as all-powerful king in charge of cybersecurity. Did you see that yesterday?
Yes, he said he will bypass Congress, as we predicted, and have a cybersecurity bill that even CNET News says is Chinese-style or Russian-style censorship. And he won't even let Congress see the cyber order he already did it. Warrantless wiretapping, you name it. And he said he'll bypass them on carbon taxes. He said he'll do it, everything. I mean, it's happening. It's happening. And the government is preparing for war with us. They want a civil war. They're crazy.
You don't have to worry because Obama appointed Homeland Security Civil Liberties Division to oversee Homeland Security to make sure they don't abuse their power.
Well, that's right. To get around states' rights, they create a 10-member governor board he appoints who says it's all right to run over the states. The governors you appointed said it was okay. And to take over all the rural areas under the Pentagon, we have a Rural Affairs Commission. See, we don't need the Bill of Rights, Constitution, or courts anymore. We have these new things that Obama has created.
On the quick thing on the Donner thing, I remember on the frenzy yesterday, I remember thinking just like if somebody wanted to take out your whole family, all they'd have to do is just make a anonymous phone call to the LAPD and say that they saw Donner go in your house. And, you know, they'd come up.
It wouldn't even be news. Or they could kill people, blame it on you, have you dead in a house, burn it down 2 weeks later, and say, and again, I don't think that's what happened, but that's the problem with burning down houses with people. Is, you know, his charred body, supposedly, and they're very suspicious. And, I have 2 articles I haven't gotten to yet. Let me show these. Thank you for the call, sir. If you're a TV viewer, check these out. Radio listeners, go check them out for yourself as well. Dorner, manhunt. Ex-cop may have had help. Court records show. L.A. Times. And then in the article, it says after authorities, not servants, authorities interviewed the boat captain early Thursday, they found Dorner's wallet identification cards at the San Ysidro port of entry, if I'm saying that right, near the U.S.-Mexico Ysidro. The same day, a guard at the Point Loma naval base told authorities he had spotted a man matching Dorner's description trying to sneak onto the base, according to court records. I mean, folks, you can have false alarms, but, I mean, this is like 9/11 where they found multiple passports in the rubble that day that survived it. I mean, it turned out it was made up. And, I mean, this is really bizarre. I don't want to say this wasn't staged. I mean, it looks like it was real because it puts egg on their face. It isn't something they want to stage. It's a PR black eye, a disaster. But at the same time, here's the other article. Dorner's wallet found in burned-out cabin with his driver's license. That's USA Today. This is getting so ridiculous. And they didn't know if he had hostages in that house, in that cabin. He'd had them at the other house he'd been at earlier in the day, a few miles away. Or was it 20 miles away? I mean, who knows? There's such lying. But they say they didn't burn it down. Yes, an accidental fire. Dorner probably started it. That's now on CNN as we predicted. I predicted they'd burn down his cabin. It was like predicting that grizzly bears have brown fur or the moon, you know, orbits the planet, or the sun comes up in the morning. I mean, this is not hard. Okay, I said I'd go to your calls. Let's go to your calls. Mike in Tennessee, former military and police, wants to give his take on this. Mike, should we just have everybody in Southern California line up and be shot? That way the police are safe?
It looks like it's that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't say that's too far from the truth, is it?
No.
The behavior of these guys is actually becoming nationwide. As indicated to the fellow who answered the phone, I told him that I'd actually tried to work with the Miami police force. Shortly after I actually got back from, serving a little bit of time in Iraq, Afghanistan, and some of the other fun areas that our government likes to abuse. And unfortunately in Miami, I couldn't take the behavior. It was identical to this.
Miami is famous for like shooting peaceful protesters with signs in the face with rubber bullets, and then the captain laughing, going, "I love how you shot that bleeping whore in the face." You know, yeah, exactly. Hey, cops, the government's going to take everything you got too. When nobody has rights, it means nobody has them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And here's the thing: is, see, in my opinion, I don't really condone the shooting of innocent people. And at the same time, you can almost see how Dorner would be frustrated about this behavior because here.
Yeah, but still, he's warped. I mean, you go shoot somebody's daughter because there was police brutality and they fired you over it because you blew the whistle. I mean, that's not equal weights and measures, is my point. I mean, you should never go after somebody's family. You should. I mean, if you're going to go after somebody, go after them.
Right, exactly. The thing is, we might be being told the wrong thing also. That might be a setup to make him look bad.
You're right. You never know. That's why there could be multiple ones. You're right. I tend to, I mean, he's a big Obama supporter and all this other stuff. And we've gone back and found records before this happened that he was a big Obama supporter and a gun grabber. So I've done a lot of research on it. I'm about 90% this is real, but surely they are trying to doll it up and do some things. What kind of stuff did you see with the Miami police force?
I literally saw the same thing, enormous amounts of racism. In fact, I've lost multiple friends who joined the, I don't want to say, you know, they didn't die or anything, but I lost them to personality changes where they were, for example, Hispanic themselves, and they start calling, you know, using the N-word, using whatever racist slang you could think of towards their own self, I mean, you know, towards their own race, towards, you know, black folks, and it was amazing. I couldn't even associate with these people. And just so you know, I'm actually a former Green Beret, so this type of behavior is extremely offensive to me. And
well, I mean, there is a gangsterism. If you look at gang handbooks and gang psychology, police more and more are behaving like a giant street gang. God bless you. I appreciate your call. It's just terrible, ladies and gentlemen. And the TV just says worship police no matter what they do. That gives cover to the bad guys in the system that are taking over. You're not helping the police putting up with bad behavior, folks. And we obsess on the police because as the police go, so goes the nation. Okay, if the police are taken over by the globalists and turned into these crazy psychos, it's going to be a civil war. And I'm the biggest friend of the police ever because I don't want to see a bunch of you dead. I mean, if you guys are hiding out because of Dorner, you start the gun confiscation. I mean, I've done the math on it. I know history. I've studied it. The cops will stand down is what's going to happen. But if the cops tried to engage the American people, every cop in America would be killed, basically. Very quickly. Very quickly. Very quickly. I mean, because there's, again, 1% stands up of gun owners. That's 1.6 million combatants. Now, you do the math. Being on the offense is so much more powerful. And if people go on the offense against the police, they're all dead, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't want to go there. That's why I keep talking about this. Let's talk to Chef Max. Chef Max is in Texas. Tell us the story of what happened to you.
Well, let me tell you, brother, I was at work just now on my day off for a manager meeting, and right in the middle of the meeting, get a knock on the door. Concierge walks up and goes, "Hey, there's two gentlemen here from the FBI I'd like to speak to you." Walk outside, and two business-dressed gentlemen, one introduced as a FBI agent, one as Homeland Security, asked me to sit down and talk for a few minutes. Sure. Walked over to couches, sat down, asked me, well, do you have any reason, any inkling why we're talking to you today? Said, hey, well, I'm kind of outspoken, and, you know.
So what did they say to you? What happened?
Well, I told them that I voice my opinion quite often, and they go, well, you know, we're here to talk to you about a young lady that used to work here, a TSA agent, and she brought some things to our attention that you were asking her, etc. And I said, well, you know, that doesn't surprise me.
Oh, yeah, this is part of the political intimidation. If you just say you think the government's out of control, they'll send the government now to make you feel like you're bad, to intimidate you. It's a whisper campaign. So you work at the airport?
No, actually, I'm at one of the theaters in Domain. We met a couple of times. I was there when you bought your Barrett over at the gun shop, and then you came and saw that Dinesh D'Souza movie with your wife and one of the Steiner boys.
Oh, yeah, you're the chef over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wait a minute. So okay, yeah, all right. You've got the infrared that we might borrow to go shoot wild hogs.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So I got to hear this. So somebody that works with the TSA, a little secret police officer, they're now all over the streets. Went. Okay, I got to hear this. So please continue.
Okay. She worked for us part time as a waitress, but at the same time she worked at the airport as a TSA screener. And at work, plenty of downtime. We're always talking about politics and current events and et cetera. And
sure, I've sat around with you talking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the conversation came up. This is 6 months ago about the radiation level at the TSA, the screeners, and I told her, go question your supervisors. How much radiation am I getting? How much am I, you know?
And so for that, you got to visit, and I was brought up. We're going to come back. Well, stay there. I got to come back. I mean, I know this guy. He's the chef over there at a really nice movie theater that's got food and stuff. I've only been to it a couple times. I want to go back, but it's in far north I mean, we've had political talks and stuff over, over dinner. Just amazing. We're going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen, to hear about how I'm a thought criminal, you're a thought criminal, everybody's a thought criminal, like the Founding Fathers. We're bad guys like them. Yeah, they hired Marcus Wolf, the former head of the Stasi. He died a few years ago. They hired him back in 2002 to about 2005. When I first heard this, I didn't believe it. I went and looked at the federal funding purchases. It was like $1.1 million a year to pay him, the former head of the Stasi, to come here and help set that up. And it's an intimidation. And I've had Secret Service and FBI come and say, what'd you mean about this? I mean, the Texas Ranger that was here yesterday was here for 15 minutes. I didn't get to talk to him because I was on air. They just told him to go, and then he wouldn't come back. He's like, oh, we've got what we need now. He's like, so what goes on around here? I need to check this out. I only believe mainstream media. So I called him up and said, the government's criminal. The government ships in the drugs. Don't come around here acting like we're bad just because you showed up and you're wearing a cowboy hat. Let's see you get up there and break a horse right now, son. I mean, I'm tired of all this, that I'm bad and government's good. That's what all this is about. So I've been over there to the Domain, really nice movie theater. Shane's taken his wife. I've taken mine over there. You know, we watched Dinesh D'Souza's movie. I think that was the night he's talking about. When I had a chance to meet the chef over there, because they have really good gourmet food at that theater, North Austin. I need to go back over there. It's not an ad for it. So starting over, tell people what happened. Okay, so you're trying to help a TSA worker who part-time is a waitress. That's got to be a pretty good gig over there. The average waitress makes $19 an hour, but she made me even more than that. So she's over there, and I guess for talking political, I mean, they just arrested a guy. He's facing a felony for peanut butter. You know, I mean, they're crazy. They want to put us all in camps. We're their slaves. So tell us what happened.
Well, I really wanted to get the idea, the mindset of people that actually work there, and you know what she's driving for, what her goals are. But another part of what I asked her for was any kind of documents, a handbook, etc., that might give me a better idea of what goes on. And I made the off the cuff comment, hey, I'll give you a reward if you bring something in. That's what prompted them to come by. It was the assumption that I was going to bribe or, pay for information.
Yeah, but see, I wouldn't even have talked to them because they'll spin everything against you or claim you lied about something and try to put you in jail for that. You know, they put Martha Stewart in jail, not for insider trading, but they said she lied. She didn't do anything. I've looked at the case. Meanwhile, the Congress is insider trading publicly. I mean, I would just say, hold on a minute. I mean, obviously, hey, I'll make you a nice pizza if you, I want to understand the handbook. Does the handbook say there's radiation? We're trying to help them. It's a public service. I don't like that stuff's, quote, classified about the scanners. So how did this end?
And that's the point I made. I'm like, look, I wasn't looking for classified information. I was looking for open information, maybe from an insider perspective. And they said, well, since you weren't looking for, quote, unquote, classified information, we're not going to pursue this any further, and you're clear. But, and then the conversation shifted to, well, what do you think of Alex Jones? So what are your, how do you feel about his point of view, and et cetera?
Oh, my
God.
God.
Two very nice gentlemen, I got to say. But, shifting the conversation back to you, asking, what my views were on the subject. At that point, I'm like, look, guys, he has a lot of great points. Do I agree with everything he says? I'm an individual. I create my own decisions based on the information I get.
I would have said, what do you think of Alex Jones?
I did. One of the FBI agents said he's a listener. I'm like, well, that's...
Well, when I had the FBI here last time, they were asking, what's that poster? And I'm going, it's Obama deception. It's a film. It's been out for it doesn't even matter. I mean, it's like this implication that I'm doing something wrong. I mean, and it's just not happening. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I went on the aggressive with him. Look, I believe I'm a staunch supporter in the Second Amendment. I believe in the right of the people to defend themselves from tyranny. And I look at both of them like, look, you two will be civilians when you retire. And then you will want that right. And that's the only thing keeping us from becoming any other third world
And what did
country.
they say at the end of that with the big evil chef at the movie theater?
They agreed with me. They go, oh yeah, we're supporters of the Second Amendment also. I'm like, I'm former, the Homeland Security guy was like, I'm former military. So I was in street clothes and I had my jacket on. I had a Guns and Coffee logo patch with a kind of a play on the Starbucks, and we got into the story about Starbucks not sending coffee over to the military servicemen and women overseas, and we got in a conversation about that. And
well, see, the only thing holding back the tyranny is that most people in the military and the police are still common sense and are good men and women. They're trying to warp them, though, right now. And there's a battle right now going on. And look, they're not going to worry about when they get out of the government and are, quote, civilians. They're going to have to worry now. This is all coming to a head the next few years. Okay, I mean, there is no future. They plan to shut this country down and break us. That is the official plan. So folks better decide where they stand. So how did this end, Chef Max?
It went well. I mean, we parted ways, we shook hands, nothing was wrong. And, the investigation was over. But I want to reiterate everybody.
Well, we'll finish one point, then I promise I'm going to the other callers. But stay there. I'm going to go to William, too. All right, I got to get to all these other callers, the State of the Union, so much more. Looking like 15 stacks of news here, no exaggeration. It's all up at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. We're here every weekday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. Infowars.com, as I said, is the website. Police audio from Dorner siege. Burn this mother effer down. All right, we're going to go ahead with the plan with the burners. And now there's more clips of the police saying, we're going to burn him down. We're going to kill him. Get the gasoline. And there are people in the comments, there's almost 1,000 comments on this one article, it's linked up at drudgereport.com, saying that, oh, no, it's just like Waco. They mean tear gas rounds. Well, yeah, there's also military tear gas that shoots flame out the sides and is well known for starting fires. But they've got a tank in there, and they say, place the burners. Okay, they're ignited. Okay, there's a fire. I mean, it's... All right, pull building 7. All right, we gave the order, watch the building come down. Demolition term, and they say, get back, we're blowing it up. I mean, you cannot sit there and get me to not understand what's happening. Chef Max, so the FBI visited because you had a waitress who was also TSA, and you said, hey, I want to find out if their manual warns you about the radiation. We really need to protect you and, people. Try to bring in your manual. And the FBI comes to talk to you. How does the story end?
Well, they basically say, hey, don't try and bribe officials. If you would have offered, actually given her money, we would have had a case for pursuing this. I said, I totally understand. That wasn't my goal and my intentions. Just looking for.
Yeah, intent is key. You were like, hey, bring me a manual. They're telling you about radiation or not, and I'll give you a pizza.
Basically, I think that was part of the conversation also. I love taking care of people, and,
I know, you've given me a free pizza. You're nice. Everybody needs to come up there. But still, you've got the FBI and Homeland Security up there at your work, high-class place. It's all part of, I can't believe, though, did she run and talk about this to them? Like she's secret agent?
It was, the conversation was started at work. Her supervisor got involved, and then before you know, this took 6 months for them to get to me. It wasn't like they knocked on my door, the day after I had the conversation. But still, I'm a little person with a view and a point of view. And I still had 2 agents with, big salaries,
Well, I had the Texas Ranger here because, Rob Dew, broke the whole thing down for me. Well, the security system records everything in that entrance, so I went and listened to it. I actually listened to him. Let's be technical. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I don't have time for a 20-minute tape, but I listened to the front and the end. The guy seemed pretty nice, but he's still like, well, I need to know who these Marines are that gave you this info because we don't think he's crazy either. We want to make sure. And then I call him back and go, okay, I'll talk to the Marines and see if they want to talk to you. But I said, do not give me a subpoena or I'm going to fight it because I go, you're not going to be able to get that with freedom of the press. I know things are changing, but he goes, no. I talked to my supervisors. You're right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we've already got, the info you've given us from some other Marines. But your article was helpful. I got to go. My supervisor says, hang up. And he hung up on me and won't answer the phone. And I'm like, I want to talk to the Texas Ranger. I want to hear what's going on. I want to interrogate him in a nice way about, I don't buy this story that some guy who was, a mechanic in the Marines has PTSD and goes out and shoots Chris Kyle, and then it's an open and shut case and the story's changed so much. Good to hear from you, Chef Max. I should have clicked because I met the guy twice. Really nice place, folks. I've been in movie theaters all over the country that are swanky. So when I'm in a city or something and got an evening, I'll say, oh, where's the local movie theater we can eat dinner? That's kind of the end thing the last decade or so with Alamo Drafthouse. It started here in Austin. But they have other ones, and it's one of the nicest, or the nicest I've ever been to. Very, very nice. Little plug there. I get my free tickets. Let's go to, move quick here. William says he works in intelligence in Virginia. William, what's your take on the Dorner case? Is that what you called in about?
Multiple things, sir. I just want to take a second to kind of explain this, because I listened to what you're saying. You're absolutely correct. But it's almost like your viewers don't understand what's going on. And when you say it's an info war, you're absolutely right, but it's multifaceted. In the Army, we call this a basic flanking maneuver. So the distraction is the main attack, right in your face. The flanking maneuver to the left or right is what they're doing behind the scenes. So as the administration pecks and pecks and pecks with executive orders or proposed legislation around to the right side, DHS is preparing for military action. And it's very, very obvious, but if people don't understand what they're seeing, they won't understand it.
Yeah, there's a giant arms buildup, and now open admission, they're preparing for giant war in all 50 states with the people. I mean, this is so depressing, so horrible. It means they're going to totally collapse things, and I want to stop it. Man, I live here. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. We've got the FBI visiting chefs because they want to learn about the radiation manuals that if they're admitting they're dangerous, trying to help people, federal employees. Meanwhile, the globalists are gutting the country. I'm sorry, go ahead and make your point.
So the second thing I wanted to get to was, in the Army we have a saying about planning for operations, and it is, no plan survives first contact. So what you have to understand is these guys are planning for two outcomes. They can slowly peck at us until we just forfeit our rights, or they can push us until we fire. And that's what DHS is there for.
That's right. People always say to me, well, which is it? Where's the martial law? They're trying to ease us into it, but if it causes too much resistance, they may go all the way. So you're right. They've probably got 5 different plans running simultaneously that run from soft takeover to hard takeover, and that means detonating nukes and saying the Patriots did it. They've got 5 major plans for my study and watching their pre-programming. See, the programming tells you where they're going with the public that's targeted towards unconscious people. If you're conscious, you see it. That gives you information awareness of what the battle plan is by the technotronic programming that's going on. But I'm sorry, you've got the floor. Go ahead and make your points.
Oh, yes, sir. You're absolutely right. So it's just people need to understand that this is absolutely real. And just because you don't see it in your particular neighborhood or area, it doesn't mean it's not going on. Pay attention to the news. And always remember, everyone is as more radical the legislation and ideas come from the White House, the distraction will become that much more ridiculous. Think about it. All these things going on in Hollywood with the stars and the shooter out in California, all these things to keep your attention on those things that are not necessarily that important so that the plan can be pushed forward.
You're saying Dorner may actually be staged?
No, sir. I'm not saying that he staged it. What I'm saying is, if you notice, there was national attention.
They decide to give it attention, and then it becomes the diversion, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this, because it's now in the Army Times, Stars and Stripes, urban warfare drills. I mean, it's admitted they're preparing for total civil unrest, takeover of the states. That's all actually on the books, public. It's just the general public doesn't look it up, so it becomes a rumor. You know, it's kind of like, I hear there's a place called the South Pole called the Antarctic, but I never saw it, so it's a rumor. No, it's down there, okay? And so it's the same thing. Like, I heard there's a Niagara Falls, but I ain't never saw it. You know, before there was television and stuff, people had to go off what they were told. So it's the same thing. But for people in, quote, intelligence, I guess if you're in Virginia, it's probably military or something, but I don't know. I mean, are they freaking out over the fact that it's now always been hidden they're preparing for domestic war for about 20 years? Now they're uncloaking and accelerating the programming, which means they're getting ready to go hot, or at least looking at going hot. I mean, are people realizing what this means?
Some of them are, sir, but you also have to remember the Beltway is kind of immune to everything else going on outside of that area.
It's in a bubble like Hitler's bunker.
Absolutely. So people here aren't really feeling the financial crunch that everywhere else is. Some people are living in a dream. I work with some people who are completely aware of what's going on, but at the same time, they say, I have to make a paycheck, I have to put food on my table, I got to pay my house mortgage. And I keep telling them, well, if you don't speak out against this, you may not have a house to pay for. You know, you may not have a table to put food on.
Well, see, that's what's scary is that the programs work from deindustrialization, hardcore depression, reorganization, breaking of the American people on the light end to absolute Mao Zedong kill half America level crap. And I've studied history so much, folks, I'm not saying that to scare you. They're leaning towards Mao Zedong level stuff. So once the gloves come off, folks, it's just going to be hell on earth. And I hope everybody understands they were warned. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. And from my military experience, I was in Fallujah. I was there. And I saw that, you know, we were almost no holds bar there. And I'm telling people they need to listen. And from my personal experience, my personal opinion, I believe that the main plan is to prepare for a military conflict within the United States of America. DHS is openly ordering all these things that you would need for an open conflict. And people, I'm telling you.
And a long war where they're going to be forced into certain regions. I mean, they plan a full-out long war.
And Mr. Jones, the only issue I've ever had for you, had against you, and this is I've been listening for a long time, is that you hesitate to tell people how bad things will get. And it's because you don't want to scare people. I understand that. But people need to hear it. People don't understand how quickly, you know, their area can be cordoned off and forces can come in and blow through houses so fast they don't know what hit them. They don't understand that, you know, their water and power can be shut off to a specific area and you can be waited out.
And the issue is, at first, they're going to wipe people out, put out PR on them to demonize them. But then I know what's going to happen. The veterans and people are not that they're scared. They're just been waiting. They're going to go completely ape against anybody in the government. I mean, from your research, what do you think is going to happen to people in the military and police once the Civil War kicks off?
I think the line will be drawn. People will pick a side. But you also have to understand that as many arms as we may have on the civilian side, and I own weapons, a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. You also have to remember, during the invasion of Iraq, you had Iraqis who believed, because they were told by Saddam Hussein, that if they put plastic wrap over RPGs, they could destroy the Abrams invisible force field. Okay? Not that Americans believe things like that, but if you think about what we will go up against, okay, all the gun owners there are in America won't make a difference against an Abrams or Bradleys or Strikers or UAVs with Hellfire.
Sure. Well, what's going to happen is, but still, they couldn't hold all of Baghdad. What you're saying is true, but the issue is it's going to be like Dorners. It's going to be people where they go out, get one person, and then never do anything again. I mean, I've studied the history of total resistance. It's just going to be horrible. I just want to not have this happen. I just want to have America wake up. The problem is that it looks like the system is just hammered down. And if libertarians and constitutionalists and conservatives and liberals don't wake up and say no to this tyranny, it's over. God bless you. I appreciate your call. Anything else you want to add, William?
Yeah, just real quick, the whole Dorner thing. People need to understand that episode revealed the weakness and the lie behind terrorism in the United States of America. One guy, a reservist in the Navy, he doesn't get specialized training like the Army or the Marine Corps. He took very basic CI training, and he almost defeated the LAPD, the FBI, the Marshals, and they had Reaper drones out there looking for him. This will tell you, if there were ever real terrorists in America, we could not stop them. We had all the assets we could have.
But that's what I'm saying. If it goes to civil war, the veterans are going to go asymmetrical, and there's going to be no way to stop them because they're not going to be popping up for the predator to get them. It's going to be a bunch of off-duty cops are at a bar, and you know what happens. I mean, it's just, and that's what they're preparing for. They're training police for 5 years. You will face veterans with IEDs. Well, you're going to have to kill veterans' families before they come after you. And they're planning to try to come arrest everybody. I mean, they're going to force us into a civil war to wipe us all out. That's the goal. We've got to get that word out and stop it. God bless you. I appreciate the call, but I just can't believe we're talking like this on air. And the thing is, I know I'm right. I know that's where it's going, and now it's all materializing. But let me tell you why they could win. They'll nuke a city or something. They'll go that bad, or say Patriots released a bioweapon. and have the guy captured and have him confess to it, and they'll use, 20 million dead from some horrible mousepox as the thing of it was the gun owners that did it. I mean, folks, you got to understand, they're confident for a reason. They got nasty stuff up their sleeve. And it's not our military. It's a foreign global technocracy. That's what they call it themselves. A technotronic technocracy of scientific masterminds programming the U.S. military and government. Programming us for self-destruction, shutting everything down, dumbing down the family, injecting our troops with cancer virus shots. I mean, it's just... It's total war. The U.S. is under attack. This is a foreign New World Order takeover, what you're saying. People say, well, why are you still alive? Because they don't want to kill me, because then that would add credibility to what I've done. They don't want to martyr me yet. Okay? And I'm not looking to die. I don't want to die. But, I mean, you know what? I'm not worried about it, folks, because I know how real this is. I want to beat these people. Man, I want the good guys to win. I've studied this so I know how they work so we can beat them. And, I've talked to generals and people, retired generals, famous ones, current people, and you talk to them and they go, wow, how do you know this? I never thought of that. They're not even that. It's not that they're not smart. They've never been uncompartmentalized. And I don't know. I can't believe I know more than most people. Even in the government, I'm not that special, folks. It's not a good feeling to know more than almost anybody else. I mean, I know what the globalists at the top know, but I'm not with them. I've reverse engineered their whole program, and I've confirmed my analysis through their actions, and I'm just like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. We've got to warn people. Please, God, heal this country. I mean, I pray hard, ladies and gentlemen. I pray hard. I mean, this is the calm before the storm, as crazy as things are. Okay, let's go to Andre in Florida. Then we'll go to Michael. No, Michael's first. Michael is a former Marine on the Dorner subject. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi. When I first heard about this whole thing, the first thing I thought about was Gordon Call and Ruby Ridge and Waco, Texas.
Yeah, they burned out Gordon Call, Ruby Ridge, Waco, all of them, yeah.
So that was the first thing I thought of. The second thing I thought of was that I had to talk to you because, see, I'm a Roman Catholic layman who is an exorcist. And I've used exorcism against, since 1990, senators and representatives, and the 30 or so that I called and specifically said, you're going to fight for God or you're going to lose your next election because I'm going to do exorcisms on you until you break. I told the staffs that. And none of them chose to call me back, whether they were Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, whatever, Catholic, non-Catholic. And I did... and they all lost their next election, period. I can prove this anytime.
Wow. Well, send me a letter. It's very interesting. I know this is a psych warfare thing. These people, most of them are occultists. If you do tell them you're doing rituals against them, it'll freak them out. See, they're all just used to people bowing down and laying down. They're not used to people standing up, folks. They need your mind. Okay, I'll give you like a minute on the other side, then I've got to go to Andre, Carl, and Chris. I got to get to everybody, because then I got to go on a TV show right after the show. Look, if we don't get a healthy mistrust of government now and get back to the Bill of Rights Constitution, which is designed to protect us to a certain extent, it's over. It's like going down in a submarine 10,000 feet and opening a portal. I mean, we don't want to open the portal. There's already water spraying in, and the government's like, open it all the way. It's going to be nice. And I'm saying, no, it's not. That last fellow I was going to talk to hung up. But let's go to callers quickly. Carl in Oregon, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. You're a trooper.
Hello, Alex. Good to talk to you again. I have a friend in the fire department who works closely with the San Bernardino County Sheriff, and this is called Operation Torch Bad Guy. That's what this whole operation's about.
Well, I mean, we got like 4 different tapes of them saying we're going to burn him down and kill him. We're going to burn down the house. People are like, they don't mean burn down the house. CNN's like, burn down the house is code for ice cream cones. So what did your source tell you?
They don't want this individual to be able to get his story out, don't want him to be some type of a folk hero, be able to write a book, and be able to expose anything that could perhaps bring down their credibility.
Well, of course, so they burned him up.
Exactly. Yeah, my friends worked with him for years, and that's just normal protocol. When you have a situation like that, a cop killer that's out there taking out one of their own, all bets are off.
I wish the police would act like this when citizens got killed.
yes. But there's, it's a brotherhood. You got to understand their mentality. It's a brotherhood among each other. It's a camaraderie that they, if somebody that goes rogue in their system, they're going to have to cover this up immediately, so that way nothing can go sideways on them.
No, but they're so arrogant now with the cover-ups that they're all on the radio saying we're going to burn it up and kill him. And now they're going, oh, burn down the house is code for something else. They're actually saying that.
Oh, yeah. What they did is they sent a flare. It's called, it's called flaring the house. And then they cordoned him off, and then they took him out. Or unless he shot himself. I don't know.
Yeah, they told the news, cut the feed, and I said, oh, looks like they're going to burn him up. And they burn him up and be like, well, you've got 4 tapes of them saying they were going to burn him up and burn down the house. But that means something different, conspiracy theorist. It's like if you saw an elephant in your living room, that's not an elephant, that's a gray mouse. You're like, well, it's gigantic. You're not a crazy person, are you? Good to hear from you, Carl. Chris in Missouri, you're on the air. Go ahead. Military, your take on this.
My take on this is actually pretty simple. I served overseas and in both theaters, and I've thrown flashbangs and all types of shit in all types of rooms. And I'm an active duty armed service member, and I'm actually in a combat MOS, which means I don't clean laundry or work in a supply room or anything like that. I go outside the wire and I actively look for roadside bombs. That's what we do. And in doing this, a lot of times we actually raid homes, and we'll throw flashbangs in. I've thrown flashbangs in rooms full of HME, homemade explosives, and nothing's happened. People hit the deck, they drop, they cover their heads. And that stuff's pretty unstable. So I don't see how you could throw a flashbang in a room and cause rounds to cook off. And it's actually...
obviously. They're like, oh, the flashbang has the rounds cooking off. Well, okay, it's on tape. We said burn the mother effer down, but that doesn't mean burn the mother effing house down. Doesn't mean burn the house down now.
Yeah, I understand completely, and I wanted to touch on something else, too. You was talking about a lot of the urban warfare that's going on, or the training that goes on into mount training, which is really a big part of what we do.
Combat and urban terrain. Yeah, so you're training to fight the American people?
I'm not going to say that, but what I will say is in the beginning when I joined in 2005, when we went to our mount sites, that's our training sites, they were mock parts of the cities, like mock parts of Tikrit or Baghdad or Kirkuk. And that was in the beginning. And when you raided a building, you walked into a building that pretty much looked like a mud hut, but gray because it was built from cinder blocks because they want to be cost efficient. Well, now a lot of our training areas you go to, it looks like downtown USA.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're compartmentalized. At the higher levels, it's declassified. It's for the American people. It's public. Incredible. Infowars.com, the latest news, folks. We'll cover more tomorrow.